Thanks. It's good to be together out here. I couldn't help but think that there's some people with us, Christiansons and the Reeses, who own property out here, and this is where they work. So for those of you who are sat behind a desk, or did in your life, check this out here. How's that for workspace? Now that probably have different opinions about that, but from Roll Farmer, that's pretty grand. It's wonderful just to come out here, like I said before, and just look around and think about what the pioneers thought of or could have thought of as they came through this area. And of course, we're at the site of the commemoration of the where the commemoration will take place for the Golden Spike. And just invite you sometime, if you haven't done, to come out and just pay attention to the railroad. They have a little tours, tour 1, 2, and 3, you go around and see those things. And where you came over the hill there, from seeing the rockets, there's a spot there that's the steepest grade in the railroad between Sacramento and Omaha. It's right there where we just come up crested the hill. Of course, the railroad comes across at an angle, but that's the steepest grade in the whole thing. When we often think, well, it must have been the Sierras or something, but it wasn't. It's right here. They had a tough time, and if you follow the grade, they had to go way up past the where you saw the rockets to pick up enough grade to be able to make it over the top there. They couldn't come through the bottom because of the mountains and the way that they're there. So again, a little emphasis on the Bidwell Bartleson. We'll be very much on the trail as we go back and make a left-hand turn, and it turns into a gravel road. One of the things I need to mention about that is for you to watch for. With a group this size and the circumstances, we just can't stop at too many little places. But you've seen some of you have seen the T-rail markers, the metal railroad ties, rails that have been welded and have a marker. There's one right next to the road as you crest the hill about 4 miles after we turn up here. Watch for that. The right side of the road. And then what you do is look out across the way looking to the west. That's the first site that the Bidwell Bartleson Company would have had of the Great Salt Lake and the area north of the Great Salt Lake. And it's worth just a thought looking at that, and I thought, what in the world are we doing here in this desolate place? You can, it's a sobering thing, really, just to think about it, even today to look at it. In the book, it talks about this area out here. The 23rd, we traveled 20 miles, past a number of salt springs, difficulty finding fresh water. He goes on to mention a spring that they found, but they couldn't find enough good water to get all their animals watered. And so sometimes finding fresh water may not do the job. So the path they followed on August the 23rd was the west along the base of the Blue Springs Hills, which is down here. Then across the salt flat so dazzlingly white that it was uncomfortable to the eye. I don't know if they had many sunglasses. Yeah. We were talking about being useful on the group. I would be totally useless on the Pioneer group. I couldn't hunt. I couldn't go out and reconnoiter or, be a scout, because anything past here, my eyesight isn't that good. And I don't know how to handle all that. Then they crossed a low spot in the Promontory Mountains. Upon reaching the summit, they were 1,000 feet higher in elevation than the Salt Lake. They're looking back here, and then they get over here, they can see the Salt Lake again. It's a stunning view, and the arm of the Salt Lake is about 8 miles. Resuming their march, they traveled a few miles later. They found a small spring, but very little grass, and their water wasn't that good. They camped there because the cedars are growing in the vicinity, and it was called Cedar Springs. So this marker that you're going to see as you cross these hills out here again about 3 or 4 miles after we turn, that's looking to Cedar Springs. And the real lesson of that spot is just what you see and how very desolate that it is and what the prospect is, and you can't turn around. and there's no place to get good provisions. They had trouble finding things here. Some of you saw a jackrabbit out running here. I bet be nervous these next days, but they find a rabbit, and once in a while, on one end or another, they would find an antelope. But very, very desolate. So there's a lot to learn. Watch your materials, these good materials that they put together for us as we go out across here, and then after you get home, spend some more time with those print materials. It'll be worth your time. So with that, I don't know if there's any question. We need to be getting on the road. Got miles to cover yet today. So thank you.